Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Heritage Advisory Committee meeting for Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. Hope everyone had a lovely summer. We will begin with the land acknowledgement statement. At the town of New Tecumseth, we acknowledge that we are on the treaty lands and traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples, specifically Ojibwe, Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. This land is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. New Tecumseth is covered by the Lake Simcoe Nottawasaga Treaty Number 18, signed on October 17, 1818, with the Chippewa Nation. We acknowledge that we are all treaty people and accept our responsibility to honor all our relations and move forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. So we'll start with the confirmation of agenda. Can I get someone to, thanks, Lainey. Someone to second that? Thanks, Shira. And disclosures of pecuniary interest. If there's anyone that has any pecuniary interest. Okay, perfect. So anyone from the public who would like to request to speak, members of the public wishing to provide input regarding an item on the agenda can pre-register moving forward with the committee secretary by emailing Carrie Wallace at newtecumseth.ca. So tonight, we have the review of our summary report. Did everyone get a chance to review that? Okay, so we'll receive that report then. Can I get a motion to receive that? Thanks, Lainey. Someone to second? Thanks, Shira. Everyone in favor of receiving? Great, thank you. And then we've got a couple of, we have a deputation and a presentation. I'm just looking here, is Gary Coleman, Carrie, was there a scheduled time that we would anticipate his arrival?
So due to our training this evening, we will be, I asked Gary to sign on around 8 o'clock or just before. So he won't be joining us until then. He will not be presenting. He will just be there to answer any questions should the committee have any with regards to the Rutherford sign item.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. So then at this point, we've got our provincial heritage training. So I will welcome representation from the province and turn the floor over. I'm going to go on mute and turn the floor over to the representatives to present what they've brought this evening.
Thank you very much, Andrea.
So Andrew, I can share the presentation. I just had to send a request to be able to share. Did somebody get that request for me to be able to share my screen?
Carrie, do you see that?
Yes, I did. And I've just made you both a co-host so that you're able to share your screen.
Okay, excellent.
Thanks.
Oops, sorry, 1 second. Okay, so can you see that screen there then? Just the second screen, or do you see two screens?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Okay.
No.
Oh, sorry, 1 second. There we go, I think.
We can see that now.
Yes,
thank you.
Great.
Okay. Excellent. So Andrew, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura. So we're very delighted to be able to speak to your Municipal Heritage Committee, members of staff, and others this evening on behalf of the province and the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. My name is Andrew Jeans, and I'm here with my colleagues Laura Romeo and Chris Lawless. If we can move to the next slide. So that was a terrific land acknowledgement. The only thing I would add, we always do a land acknowledgement before any presentation or event that we're doing. And all I would add to the one that you already gave is that our presence on the traditional territories of these Indigenous peoples also includes recognition of the cultural heritage, including their spiritual and sacred sites, their artifacts and archaeological sites, built heritage and cultural heritage landscapes, and most notably also includes care and protection for the ancestors and for their resting places. Next slide, please. So Chris, Laura, and I are with the Heritage Policy and Services Unit at the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. Up until a couple of years ago, our unit was part of the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport, but responsibility for the Ontario Heritage Act was moved from that ministry to Citizenship and Multiculturalism in 2022. And we came along with that, all of our colleagues along with us all moved ministries. We are responsible, or our unit is responsible for designing and developing policy initiatives, as well as supporting the development of legislation and regulations relating to the Ontario Heritage Act. So legislation obviously is passed by the provincial legislature. Regulations are adopted by orders in council. But the legwork of creating the language for those and supporting the process for creation of those falls to provincial public servants, including colleagues that work with us. In addition, we provide technical and advisory services to many entities across the province that are involved in the heritage sector. Including municipalities, local and provincial organizations such as the Architectural Conservancy of Ontario. We also engage with national heritage organizations like the National Trust. And to do that work, we organize a variety of different program initiatives, which includes training courses like this one. Most of our training is delivered online and has been since the start of the COVID lockdowns, but it enabled us to reach all across the province from Thunder Bay to Cornwall to Toronto to North Bay. Certainly we're very, very happy to have the opportunity to be doing a training session with New Tecumseth. Next slide, please. Tonight's presentation from us is divided into 4 key components. We will start with a discussion about what is heritage and why do we care? Why does it matter? Some of this stuff may not be new to you, but we always figure it's a good idea to recap what we know and what we care about as a way of getting into the more technical aspects of the presentation. The second component of tonight's presentation is a discussion of roles and responsibilities for council, for the Municipal Heritage Committee, for municipal staff. These things are all determined under statute and under various documents that municipalities are responsible for adopting. So we'll talk about that. Then we're going to move into recent changes to the Ontario Heritage Act. There have been quite a few significant changes to the Act since 2020. Some of the most significant were associated with a piece of legislation called Bill 23. You've probably heard that name before. But there were other pieces of legislation that amended the Act in the last 5 years or so as well. We're going to focus on the most significant changes and how they affect the work that municipalities do when protecting heritage resources under the Act. Finally, we're going to have a discussion about heritage conservation districts. Again, this may not be new to you. You, of course, have a relatively new heritage conservation district in Beaton, just established in the last couple of years. But again, we figure it's good to go over some of this material, and it helps prompt discussion and we hope questions. I do want to say that we don't expect anybody to memorize everything that we say tonight. A lot of it is quite technical. Um, but the main thing is to be thinking about questions that you may have that you would ask at the end of the presentation or tomorrow or next week or next month, whenever. We're trying to start a dialogue here. A disclaimer before I go any further. So I can't give legal advice. No provincial public servant can give legal advice to municipalities or to anyone else, even if we were lawyers, which we're not. None of the information in tonight's presentation is intended to take the place of legal advice, and if there's any conflict between anything you see or hear this evening and any applicable legislation or regulations, including the Ontario Heritage Act and its regulations, then that legislation or those regulations would obviously prevail. If you have any concerns that relate to legal matters and needing legal advice, we urge you to contact your municipality's own legal services. They are the ones who are charged with giving you advice about specific legal interpretations under provincial legislation. So with that, I am going to pass it over to Laura, who is going to start with a discussion about what is heritage.
Thanks, Andrew. Okay, so what is heritage? So heritage is not just about the past. It's about the places, spaces, and stories that we value today and saving and conserving them for tomorrow and future generations. So the Ontario Heritage Act enables conservation of buildings and monuments, streetscapes and landscapes, bridges and railway stations, archaeological sites, cemeteries, spiritual and sacred places, battlefields, industrial complexes, former villages, and campsites. And the most important thing to remember is that it doesn't have to be old to be heritage. So some of the benefits of heritage conservation include creating public education opportunities at museums, historic sites, and heritage organizations, as well as through public access to archaeological records. It can also enhance the sense of place and inspire civic pride and identity. It can drive economic development by revitalizing properties and historic neighborhoods, which in turn creates spaces for businesses. It can support local skilled jobs, as well as increase property value, tourism, and attract film production. As well, it can foster connections between different generations, and it can contribute to environmental sustainability by reusing existing buildings and reducing landfill waste and protecting important greenfield land. So next, I'm going to go through some of the roles and responsibilities of municipal heritage committees and council, which I'm sure you'll be familiar with. So established by bylaw under Section 28.1 of the Ontario Heritage Act, there are currently 154 municipal heritage committees out of the total 414 municipalities in Ontario. So the municipal council will pass a bylaw to establish the committee, appoints the members, and determines the terms of reference and provides resources to that committee. So we just recently posted the Ontario Heritage Toolkit. I think it was in June that it was officially posted. And there is a guide titled Your Community, Your Heritage, Your Committee. And that Heritage Toolkit goes through in more detail the roles and responsibilities of the Municipal Heritage Committee. So you can take a look at that on our website. So what is the role of municipal council? So the Ontario Heritage Act gives municipalities the authority and tools to identify and protect heritage properties that are important in their communities. So this includes designation of individual properties under Part 4 and heritage conservation districts under Part 5. As well, gives the authority for alterations to designated property and the demolition removal on designated property. It also includes amendments to or repeal of a designation bylaw, as well as adding or removing non-designated properties from the municipal register. It also includes entering into easements or covenants, and the council must consult with the Municipal Heritage Committee where one exists on all heritage-related matters. So now I'm going to pass it over to Chris, who will go through the More Homes Built Faster Act from 2022.
Okay, now we're getting into the technical information Andrew promised. So as Andrew mentioned, there were some changes, massive changes made to, well, not massive, but significant changes made to the OHA a few years back. And that those were part of the More Homes Built Faster Act, and otherwise known as Bill 23. So the first change that, well, the key changes that were part of this sort of fell under a few sort of themes. So there's how municipalities manage and update listed heritage properties on their register, when a municipality can issue a notice of intention to designate a property. The thresholds for both listing non-designated properties and designating properties under the Act were raised and changed. And then how municipalities are required to evaluate and create and manage heritage conservation districts also changed a little bit. Next slide, please. So the first change that Bill 23 made was the requirement for municipalities to keep an up-to-date version of their register available on a publicly accessible municipal website. There's no requirement for what format this might take. It could be linked to a PDF document that has a list of all the listed and designated properties that's updated periodically. It could just be an HTML page or website that lists everything. Some municipalities have interactive maps and where you can sort of search for the address of the home and pull up its designation bylaw or some information about it. And other municipalities opt for a combination of text and mapping. So it's left up to the municipality on how they want to provide this information, but it needs to be accessible on their website to the public. Next slide, please. There were changes to the notice of intention to designate during planning acts events. So previously, municipality could issue an intention to designate property after a development application had been submitted. This has been changed now that if there's a planning act event, meaning an official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, or a plan of subdivision submitted, that the municipality can only designate a property on the site as heritage if it's already been listed as a non-designated property on the site. If there's no listed properties on the site and a planning act event happens on that property, nothing on the site can be designated. Next slide, please. Another change made to the OHA through Bill 23 was related to objections to council for including non-designated properties on the register. So the OHA now allows for decisions about adding listed properties to be revisited at any time, regardless of when it was added to the register. Council's still required to consult with their municipal heritage committee before removing any non-designated properties. And council's decision on objections to the inclusion of listed properties on the register are final and cannot be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Next slide, please. As I stated earlier, there's another change related to non-designated properties is the requirement for the listed property to meet one or more of the criteria for identifying cultural heritage value or significance that's found in Ontario Regulation 906. Previously, the property did not have to meet any of the criteria. It just needed to be of cultural interest or thought to have some cultural interest to be added. Now it needs to meet one of the criteria. Next slide, please. And this is Ontario Regulation 906. You can find it online. I'm not going to read through all of them, but in general, they fall under themes of design value, historical value, and contextual value. So if you want to list a property, it just needs to meet one of these 9, and it'll likely meet more than that. Next slide, please. This is a significant change related to the register and related to management of the register that came about as part of Bill 23. There's now a requirement for municipalities to review non-designated properties that have been listed on the register within 2 years of being added to the register. So a property can be added to the register still, but if the municipality does not move forward with full designation under the Act, the property has to be removed from the register and it can't be added back to the register for a period of 5 years. However, it can be designated. It just can't be added again as an undesignated property for a period of 5 years after a 2-year period elapses without designation. And next slide, please. And just like the threshold for listing properties was increased, the threshold for designating properties under the Act was also increased. So same criteria as a couple slides back. A property, if it's going to be designated under the OHA, needs to meet at least two, but it can meet more, 2 or more of the criteria found in Regulation 906 to be designated under the Act. Now we're going to move forward to heritage conservation districts, and Andrew will take it over from here.
Thanks very much, Chris. Heritage conservation districts are an increasingly popular tool under the Ontario Heritage Act for protecting large areas that have a cohesive overall heritage value. So the idea being that the whole is greater than the sum of the individual properties within it. Heritage conservation districts are under Part 5 of the Ontario Heritage Act. They've been in the Act since it was created in 1975. And specifically, Section 41 under Part 5 of the Act gives municipalities the authority to designate the entire boundary of the municipality, if they were to so choose, or any defined area or areas within the municipality as a heritage conservation district. This is done by passing a designation bylaw designating the specific area within the boundary as a heritage conservation district. Once that bylaw has been passed and come into force, any owner of a property within the district would be required to obtain a heritage permit for any alterations, demolitions, removals, or construction of new buildings within the Heritage Conservation District. That's on top of any planning approvals that might be required, as well as any building permits. So it is an additional level of approval focused specifically on heritage value. District designation gives municipalities tools that help them to manage change over time. It's not meant to freeze the district and prevent any change from ever happening. What it is meant to do is provide a plan and a set of guidelines, some overarching policies that allow municipal council through implementation of that plan to ensure that changes within the district are sympathetic to the cultural heritage values that have been identified. So you're trying to identify what's important and ensure that that is protected while allowing for new development, new construction, and alterations to existing buildings and landscapes within the district. There are many different types of heritage conservation district around Ontario. Some of the more common types include traditional downtown Main Street commercial areas, market squares, villages, which may be entirely rural in character, or may be more well-established old residential neighborhoods within a larger developed area. Industrial complexes can also be designated as heritage conservation districts. So a mill complex or something like that, where there are multiple buildings, multiple landscapes, something larger than an individual building, but where, again, there's a cohesive overall cultural heritage value associated with that. And rural landscapes can also be designated, and there are a few heritage conservation districts that are largely rural in character, made up more of farmland and woodlots and other things that you would associate with landscape value, with perhaps only a couple of buildings or structures contained within them. Next slide, please. The process of creating a new heritage conservation district starts by making sure that you have the appropriate provisions in your municipal official plan under the Planning Act. So it's required that your official plan says that the municipality may create heritage conservation districts. If you don't have a policy in your official plan to say that, then you have to amend the official plan to include that provision. And of course, you guys don't have to worry about that because you already have all of that. However, the next step would be somebody initiating the designation with a request to council or a proposal to council. That can be initiated by anybody, any citizen, property owner. It could come from the Municipal Heritage Committee itself. It could come from a member of council, but it has to be initiated typically through something in writing, a letter or a report, a resolution by the Municipal Heritage Committee, something that can be acted on by council, which would then direct staff to move forward with the next steps in the process. As a Municipal Heritage Committee, you must be consulted by council before designation of a heritage conservation district, as well as other decisions made by council in terms of managing the heritage conservation district once it is designated. Council may choose to pass an interim control heritage conservation district area study bylaw. This only lasts for up to a year, and is meant to ensure that the municipality has a measure of protection over heritage attributes that are in this area being studied for a potential heritage conservation district. The challenge with it is that it can only be a year. It's not renewable. Some heritage conservation districts are complex and take more than a year to complete the study and develop the plan. So it's important to consider whether or not this bylaw is useful, and also the timing around when the bylaw is adopted. The last thing you want is to adopt a study area bylaw, have the 1 year that it's in force pass, and still not have the Heritage Conservation District bylaw ready, because then you have a period of time where there can be no additional protection until the district bylaw has been passed and has come into force. Every heritage conservation district needs to have a boundary which is carefully considered. We strongly recommend starting with a larger area for the study, and then narrowing it down to a perhaps slightly smaller or much smaller area for the final district designation. And you don't need to ensure that every single property within the boundary has cultural heritage value or interest. We'll get to that in a moment, but it is important that the boundary makes sense and encloses an area where you can make an argument for a cohesive overall value that helps to bind the district together. The Heritage Conservation District Plan and guidelines are often prepared by consultants that are hired by the municipality. In some cases, they may be prepared in-house by staff. In some cases, members of the Municipal Heritage Committee or others with a specific interest or specific skill set may be enlisted to work on it, but the typical approach these days is to hire outside consultants, usually through posting a request for proposals. And there are a number of consulting firms around Ontario that have done a lot of heritage conservation districts and can generally provide a pretty good set of bids to respond to this. Public consultation is required. The bare minimum under the Ontario Heritage Act is one statutory public meeting. Typically, that would be held after the HCD plan has been developed, but before the report goes to staff for consideration of the bylaw. So that's the bare minimum. We strongly recommend having more than one public meeting. A good idea is to have a public meeting early in the process, perhaps at the outset of the Heritage Conservation District study. Perhaps if you're hiring consultants shortly after they have been hired, this would be to provide people with information about what a Heritage Conservation District is and why one is being considered for that area. You might want to have additional meetings during the process, but then typically you would have that final meeting after the HCD plan has been adopted to receive final input from members of the community before the plan goes before council to be considered and adopted along with the district designation bylaw. And then the last step at the municipal level is the adoption of the bylaw itself. It's like any other bylaw passed by council. And then notice is served. The notice requirements are set out in the Act. Property owners within the district all have to be notified. There has to be either a newspaper ad or notice by alternative means. A lot of municipalities these days use their municipal website. The reason for that is that there is an appeal period that starts upon the date that the notice is served and then lasts for 30 days. And anyone objecting to the designation of the Heritage Conservation District, or in fact, if there was a study area bylaw, anyone objecting to that has 30 days from the service of notice to let the municipality know in writing that they object and that they wish to bring an appeal. That appeal is referred to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If the person making the appeal has not previously been involved in the public process, if they haven't attended the public meetings, if they haven't submitted comments in writing or otherwise demonstrated engagement, the Ontario Land Tribunal may choose to dismiss their appeal. So this is meant to prevent frivolous appeals at the very end of a process. People have to show that they have a stake in what's going on in order for the Ontario Land Tribunal to consider the appeal. Although in exceptional circumstances, the OLT is not compelled to dismiss the appeal and may choose to hear it, but typically, again, if the person launching the appeal hasn't shown that they've been engaged in the process up to that point, they're unlikely to get their hearing before the tribunal. Whatever the case, the Ontario Land Tribunal makes a decision, and that decision is final and binding on all parties, including the municipality. Of all of the heritage conservation districts that have gone to the Ontario Land Tribunal or its predecessor, the Ontario Municipal Board, there has never yet been one where the tribunal has overturned the Heritage Conservation District bylaw. There have been bylaws that have been amended by order of the tribunal. Sometimes the boundary is changed, sometimes the policies or guidelines are changed, but in all cases, the tribunal has upheld the basic decision of the municipality to create the Heritage Conservation District. Next slide, please. So the plan is the primary tool for managing change within the district. These can be quite complex, And sometimes it's of value to have guides for property owners that help to simplify some of the terminology. But this is something that staff would rely on when advising council. The Municipal Heritage Committee can refer to when giving its advice to council. And ultimately, this is going to guide heritage permits that are issued for changes within the district. It always starts with an overall statement of objectives. Why is the district designation being considered? Why has this particular place been designated as a heritage conservation district? That follows with a statement about the overall cultural heritage value or interest of the district. What's important, what's of value within the district that should be protected. A breakdown of the criteria under the provincial regulation, design values, historical and associative values, contextual values of the district. This is followed by a set of policies and guidelines, and these can be permissive or quite strict. It's up to the municipality. They typically involve anything from building height and massing, materials that are recommended to be used, windows and doors, porches, sometimes landscaping, fences, hedges, things like that. All can be covered by design guidelines. These are guidelines, which means that council does have the discretion to approve new construction or alteration that deviates from the guidelines, but typically the guidelines would be what a property owner would refer to, what if they're hiring a contractor or an architect to help come up with the changes to their property. That's what they would refer to as well. So everybody has a common understanding about what's expected within the district. And this leads to the process for applying these guidelines to manage change through the future. And that can include potentially reviewing the guidelines in a certain amount of time, perhaps every 10 years or something, to see whether they're still achieving the overall objectives of the district and making updates to them. Although, unlike Planning Act documents, there's no requirement for the district bylaw to be updated. It's a good practice to consider doing it anyway. Finally, the district plan should include a description of the types of minor external alterations that can be carried on without any kind of heritage permit. So basic landscaping, gardening, cutting grass, painting wood or metal, routine maintenance, these kinds of things, generally speaking, would fall into the category of things that don't require a heritage permit at all. You're really looking to use heritage permits as a tool to manage changes that are going to affect heritage value. If the alterations aren't going to affect the heritage value, then there should not be a requirement for a permit. A key word in here that I haven't mentioned yet is external. You cannot protect the interiors of buildings with a Heritage Conservation District designation. So any interior renovations to buildings or alterations would not be subject to a heritage permit. If you have a building that does have interior heritage attributes that you want to protect, you have to use an individual designation by law to protect them. You can't do it with the district designation. Next slide, please. So Bill 23, which was passed in the fall of 2022, introduced some changes that were some of the first really substantial changes to Heritage Conservation District since 2005. Previously, there had been no explicit requirements within the Act or its regulations for properties within the district to show that they met any criteria for cultural heritage value or interest. So the overall district, yes, But the individual properties, there was nothing written into the act to say each of them has to show that it meets criteria for having cultural heritage value or interest. So that was changed under the Bill 23 amendments. So now, at least 25%, 1/4 of the properties contained within the Heritage Conservation District must be shown to meet 2 or more of the 9 criteria for cultural heritage value or interest. That's easier than it sounds, and we'll get into why in a moment. The changes under Bill 23 also gave the province the ability through a regulation, so this doesn't need to go back to the whole legislature for a vote, but through a regulation that can be introduced through an order in council, which is just cabinet directing that it happens, to set up processes where municipalities can amend their heritage conservation district or, if necessary, repeal a heritage conservation district bylaw. There's never been a heritage conservation district bylaw repealed. All of the districts that have ever been created since the act came into force in 1975 are still with us. There are quite a few municipalities that have amended their heritage conservation districts, but there's nothing written into the act to say how to do it. So municipalities have done it by various different ways without consistency. This specific provision is meant to try and provide a consistent approach that all municipalities would then use. However, we haven't actually got there yet. We haven't got the process prescribed yet. It's still being worked on, and we don't have a timeline for when it's going to be in place. So for the time being, it's still up to individual municipalities. If they want to change their Heritage Conservation District bylaw, they have to do so on their own with the guidance of their lawyers and figure out a process for themselves, because there is no guidance from the province through regulation on specifically how to do it. You may be interested to know some statistics. I'm actually going to correct these as I'm going, but at least 57 Ontario municipalities have a heritage conservation district. There are 149 as of this August. The 149th was down in Amherstburg in the far tip of southwestern Ontario, and 27,000 properties in those 149 heritage conservation districts. At least 35 municipalities have a single heritage conservation district. Some have 2 or 3, some have 4. Ottawa has 21 heritage conservation districts. Toronto has 28. So they're the 2 biggest municipalities in the province, and they have the most heritage conservation districts, which is not that surprising. The average number of properties within a typical district in Ontario is actually crept up. It's about 181 now. And that's because recently districts have been getting a little bit larger. There are a couple of districts in Ontario that have over 1,000 properties in them. There's about a dozen districts that have 10 or fewer properties. So there's a wide range in sizes, but in the low hundreds is pretty common, is the most typical size for a heritage conservation district in Ontario. So the Beaton one with 53 is actually a relatively small one by the standards of most districts around the province. Next slide, please. So now coming back to that raised threshold, the test for determining whether or not 25% of your properties in the Heritage Conservation District meet 2 or more of the criteria. Again, this is not as difficult as it sounds. And here's an example where we're keeping the math simple. So we're talking about a proposed Heritage Conservation District of 100 properties. This is, for the purposes of our example, a residential neighborhood. And most of the properties, 70 of them in fact, have been identified by the Heritage Conservation District study as being good representative examples of a specific local variation of an architectural style. In this case, the late 19th century arts and crafts bungalow type. So that meets the criterion 1, which is a design or physical criterion, which is to say, is it a representative example of a specific architectural style? Within the district boundary that's proposed, 85 of the properties can be demonstrated to have contextual value. Why? Because they help to define, maintain, or support the overall character of the district. This is criterion number 7, which we also sometimes refer to as contributing to the district. And this includes properties with buildings and structures that may not be of that same architectural style as the 70 that I mentioned before, but that do nonetheless support the overall character by having a sympathetic design. So their architecture, although not identical, is sympathetic to the overall character of the district. 15 of the properties within the district boundary don't meet any criteria, so those would be what we call non-contributing. So these properties don't have any direct role to support the cultural heritage value or interest of the district, but they're included in the district boundary because the municipality has an interest in managing future change to those properties. They may be vacant lots, they may be parking lots, they may be places where there was previously a building that was destroyed by fire or some other mishap. And the idea of including them in the district is that if somebody wants to build something new on those properties, that you can apply the design guidelines for the Heritage Conservation District to the new construction to ensure that the new build is sympathetic to what's already there. And this can apply even to properties that have buildings on them that are going to get demolished. If it's non-contributing, there's presumably not going to be any objection to demolition of the existing building, but again, what replaces it, and making sure that the replacement is sympathetic to the cultural heritage value of the overall district is why you would include those non-contributing properties in your boundary. But again, this is only 15 in this example. So adding up the numbers, we can say that well, 70% of 100 properties do meet 2 criteria, and only 15 meet 0 criteria. So that's far away above the 25% threshold. This is actually a real example. This was provided to us by the town of Oakville, where they did have a heritage conservation district that has this particular arts and crafts bungalow style predominating. And they picked the best ones, the 70 best ones, to be the representative ones. And that was what helped to define their district. Next slide, please. There are specific criteria within the regulation, which Chris has already mentioned, for heritage conservation districts. So if you look at the regulation, you'll actually see one list of criteria for individual properties and one list for heritage conservation districts. They're not that different from one another, but it is important to apply the right ones. And we have guidance in the Ontario Heritage Toolkit, which you've heard mentioned already this evening, on how to work with the regulation. You would typically use our Heritage Conservation Districts Guide, as well as the Heritage Property Evaluation Guide, to determine how to evaluate those properties and determine that you're using the right list of values and that you are applying that to an individual property or to a district. Next slide, please. And just mechanically, how are you going to do this? Here is a typical example of an approach that you could take, creating a simple spreadsheet-based checklist, where on the left you have all of the properties identified by their civic address, and then beside that you have your list of 9 criteria, and you just go through and check off which ones each property in the district meets. You could do this for all of the properties in your study area. In theory, you could do it until you got to 25%, as long as you done 2 check marks for 25%. You could stop there. But we do recommend having some process for doing at least a basic evaluation of every property in the district, because that will make it easier to sell the district to council and to property owners, and that will make it easier to manage the district in the long run if you know what values each property in the district actually has. Once again, if you're looking for advice on how to do this stuff, it's in the guidebooks, which are on our website under the Ontario Heritage Toolkit. So if you refer to those guidebooks and you still have additional questions, that's what we're here for. Next slide, please. With that, I am going to pass it over to you. Thank you very much for listening to us. Once again, we don't expect that there's no test. We don't expect that everything we've talked about tonight is going to stick with you. If there's nothing else, we encourage you to look at the Ontario Heritage Toolkit and see if answers to questions you have are in there. And if not, or even if they are, and you still want to get clarification, you can contact one of the 3 of us by email. We also have phone numbers, but email is probably the best way to reach us. This presentation is available to all of you. You should have, we will have a copy if we haven't sent one already, to your staff liaison. So you'll have our email addresses, and you can ask us questions tomorrow or a month from now or a year from now, whenever, and we'll be happy to help you with anything that you're interested in relating to what we've talked about tonight or anything else under the Ontario Heritage Act. So thank you very much for your time, and please hit us with any questions that occur to you right now.
Thank you, Andrew, Laura, Chris, for a thorough and informative presentation. We appreciate you being here this evening and taking your time. I'll open it up to the committee for questions for the presenters, or thank you again for encouraging that open dialogue ongoing from today. And I'll just comment that it is nice to know about the toolkit. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Is there anyone with a question for our presenters? Yeah, Lainey.
Probably to Andrew. I was just wondering, when you were mentioning that heritage conservation districts are sometimes like rural landscapes and include like wooded areas, could you also include bodies of water?
So it's complicated there because bodies of water are generally under the control of the Ministry of Natural Resources, and
Right.
would not be within jurisdiction of the municipality. You may have water lots and shoreline that can be addressed. And in fact, shoreline, including shoreline development such as docks, boathouses, things like that, could well be something that would be of great interest to a municipality. But the body of water itself, typically the lake bed or the river bed is not within municipal jurisdiction. So you could refer to it. You could certainly identify it as contributing to the value of your district, but you would probably have difficulty enforcing any kind of heritage permits over things that were happening that affected that body of water. You're probably best to be in contact with your local conservation authority or with the Ministry of Natural Resources to determine what the municipality can and can't do when it comes to managing change with that body of water.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions for this evening?
Yeah, I have one question.
Erica.
Thanks. Just in regards so that I have a better understanding, the difference between the listed but not designated properties and kind of the purpose of the listed properties. Because I know with the timelines, any listed properties need to get designated or off the list. Can you designate, so two parts really, can you designate a property that's not listed? Because that was my understanding is that was the point of the list. And then really then if what's the point of the list aside then from making sure you can, if something's going to change on that property, you can still designate within the 90 days? Is that really the main purpose of the list? Did that make sense? Sorry.
Wait, Chris, I'm
Chris?
not sure whether you wanted to answer that one.
Yeah. Okay. So previously, I mean, municipalities use the register for different reasons, but in the past, in Toronto, for instance, it was sort of like an early warning system.
Okay.
If a development application came in for a property, they could take a look and see whether or not it had been identified for having potential heritage, character, or value or
Mhm.
interest. And then they would proceed with a study or decide, no, actually, we don't care about that property. Now, I mean, the register is still useful. Say a municipality just doesn't have the resources to move forward with a full designation bylaw. It
Mhm.
can still have the property listed and then say, a prescribed event such as like the zoning bylaw amendment comes through. Then you're still able to protect the property with a full designation under the act. The other thing is, yes, aside from those instances when there's a planning act event,
Mhm.
you can still designate a property.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I just want to add to that. These changes have kind of increased the onus on municipalities to be a bit more proactive in terms of using designation as a tool. In the past, there were situations where everybody knew that such and such a property was of heritage value, but there was no pressure to do anything about it because nothing was happening to it. It was stable, it was owned by a single owner, and it only takes the property being sold to a new owner, and then all of a sudden there's a proposed change, and maybe there's a zoning bylaw amendment or something like that. And then everybody in the community is saying, we've got to protect it, we've got to protect it. So it was an effort to try and reduce some of that reactive approach to using designation and encourage a more proactive approach so that if somebody was proposing to make a change to that property that involved a lot of new construction, residential development on a farm property or adding extra stories to a downtown commercial property, that everybody would understand up front with no ambiguity that that property had heritage value, that the municipality had identified it as having heritage value, and that there were going to be rules and requirements around change to that property. So nobody gets taken by surprise. Listing still does have a value. It's a different value, and it's arguably less of a value than it was before these changes because you can only have properties on the list for 2 years and then they have to be off for 5. But the main thing here is to put thought into what are the most important properties in the municipality and what are the best tools to use to ensure that those are going to be protected and not wait until you get to the moment of crisis where it's if you don't do something, then you're going to lose it forever.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Well, thank you again. I'm sure we will be in touch and appreciate you providing your contact information. Thanks. So I guess I'll ask for a motion to receive the provincial heritage training. Is that necessary, Carrie?
Yes, please. That would be
I'm
great.
gonna
Thank
say
you.
yes. Yeah, no problem. Thanks,
Thank
Lainey.
you.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I get someone to second that, please? Thanks, Vanessa. Okay, everybody is in favor? Perfect. All right, well,
Great.
thank you. Yeah.
We'll say goodbye, but again, we hope that this is the start of an ongoing conversation, and that we'll hear from one or more of you in the future.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
And welcome, Gary. I didn't interrupt to welcome you as I saw you join, but we're glad to have you here. Thank you. So Gary Coleman, you are here not with the deputation, but for the purpose of being available for questions regarding the Rutherford recognition sign.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. And Carrie had sent to the committee a copy of the report that had been brought forward to council. Remind me of the date, Carrie?
It was July. Let me just pull up it was July 28th, 2025. And if I could just read the motion that came out of that meeting. It was that the report be received, and further that this item be referred to the Heritage Advisory Committee for comment on the design as it pertains to the Beaton Heritage Conservation District prior to being considered by council.
Thank you. So I'll just open the floor then to question or comment with regards to the sign.
I think go. If that's okay.
Sure. Yeah. Erica?
Sorry, I'm on my phone, so I don't know where the hand up gesture is on
okay.
Zoom here.
Right.
I just want to clarify the sign itself, the image I have from the attachment, there's a picture of him holding the Stanley Cup. Is the sign itself just the black portion below? They're just kind of overlaid together in the document.
No,
Let me, sorry. Do you want me to see if I could pull up the image?
Yeah, do you want to share it if it's possible, Gary?
Yeah.
That way those who are watching at home can also see what you're referencing, Erica.
Great, thank you.
Just give me one moment.
Yeah, of course.
I asked my hockey loving husband from Beaton what he knew of Jim Rutherford, and he knew a lot. So he was very excited about this.
well, he's a local hero, that's for sure.
Yes, yeah, my husband grew up around the corner from his parents, apparently, so he had good things to say.
Okay, I've got it. I just have to share it. Okay. Sorry, this is not working as planned. Okay. There we go.
Thanks, Carrie.
Can everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so my question pertaining then looking at it is that entire image the sign or just like the kind of black piece at the bottom?
No, it's the entire image of the sign. The sign showing Jim holding the Stanley Cup, which obviously is significant to him, being a three-time winner. And then down on the right-hand side of the sign, him in his Detroit Red Wing goal attire, which is probably in terms of his playing career is where he's recognized.
Okay. And no, it's great to have those significant images there. And the signs are the proposal. I know it's here because it's going to kind of be at either end of Main Street near the Conservation District. Are we talking like on the existing signs that say welcome to Beaton, or would this be a whole new standalone sign separate from that in terms of location?
The thought was a separate standalone sign.
Okay. And how big are we talking? I mean, do you want to see it driving, I'm assuming?
Yes, so probably 4 feet wide, 6 feet tall, something like that.
Okay.
I actually haven't seen the quotation from the manufacturer or the supplier to the town. So in terms of what they had envisioned, I'm not sure of the size, but I'm thinking that a 4x6 would be somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So approximate at this point, but I can get the gist. Thank you. I think my main comment would just be in terms of like, look, it's very modern looking with the black and white for a heritage district. I don't know if there's any thoughts from the rest of the committee about softening the colors and maybe even the font to be a little bit more in keeping. Obviously the pictures are modern and I don't have any objection to those. I think that they have value, but if the text can kind of go with the landscape a little bit more, or even a little bit more with the colors of the existing signs, or the township's colors somewhere in that. I think that would kind of keep, it's modern in the sense that they're photographs and he's a modern person that we're honoring, but it can kind of meet in the middle, I think, with the font and the colors to represent both sides of the area. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, sure. I don't see any reason why the font wouldn't be changed to something a little more heritage looking, or in keeping with existing signage of the town in terms of a look or the script. I don't think that would be an issue at all.
Great. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Erica. Other questions? Vanessa, you had one.
Erica kind of touched base. I was also curious about the size, which has already been touched upon. And I did notice there was, sorry, I can't access it at the moment. My hands are full, but I think council said $8,000 was put towards that. So they suggested one sign. I know Gary's preference was to have two, one on each end of town. And Gary did mention not seeing the quotation or anything yet. Do we have a quote that's come in? Are we on par cost-wise to have two signs about that size? Or I was just curious about how that was going to work out if council was suggesting one and the proposal was for two. I was just curious how that was working out.
No, it's a good question. I might direct that to Emma, Kathy. I'm not sure if if that's appropriate to direct to staff with regards to any preliminary quote.
Yeah, so a quote is not something that I have been privy to in terms of the information that has been circulated to me. However, I'm more than happy to correspond with Mike Ip, who was the individual who was on the staff report, to follow up and see if he has received a quote for the signs and see if this is on par for moving forward.
I guess my follow-up to that, the reason I'm asking is if it came in and we could only get one sign because of the budget, where would be the most ideal place to have it, right? I know people drive in from both directions. So that's kind of where I was going with that, is if it came down to one, is there, I know there was 3 bullet points that said it could be on the east side or it could be on the west side, but as a committee, do we have a preference or a recommendation of where it might be most beneficial if it came down to one?
I'll throw in my comments if I could. Being a local resident and having lived here for the majority of my life, I would say that the majority of traffic coming into Beaton would be coming from the east. In other words, 400. I think a lot of people in Beaton commute to Toronto. So leaving and returning would be on the east end of town. Now, I'll also throw this out just for information. When I started working on this project 2.5 years ago, I went to En Route Media, which is a local sign company in Alliston. And they're huge billboard business and outdoor signage. They quoted me about $873 per sign. So that would be, for the two of them, below a couple of $1,000s. So I would suspect that $8,000 is going to more than cover the cost of two signs.
Good to know.
Just for worth.
Okay. Shira, and then Lainey.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Gary. So who designed the sign itself and came and like found the images and put it together? Was that you or done with staff?
It was between myself and Mike and staff.
Okay.
So I supplied the images, and Mike and staff sort of put them together and come up with the concept of the verbiage and so on, and how it looked.
The one concern I have with using photos is that anything colored tends to fade in the sun, and then it doesn't look so good. So my concern about using like a lot of photos and two big photos is that it's going to be something that is going to not last for a long time, so need to be constantly replaced. And then the concern is it always going to be covered in the budget and then it's just going to look crappy? And I would hate that. You want to, do it once and do it well. And so like when I look at that sign, my first question is it sympathetic to the Heritage Conservation District? And my first thought is no, it's not, because it doesn't, as Erica said, it doesn't at all have that heritage reference. That being said, the photo of him in the goalie gear is obviously very, it does have that. I just wonder if it can be done in a way that is not going to fade and look bad over time. Like if we had it in black and white or something like that. I hate having to, I don't want to put this back to the drawing board again. So one thought that I just had, I'll just put it out there, is obviously once the new Beaton arena is built, it would be great to have that as is, or slightly modified in the arena, in a protected environment where you could see the pictures and be inspired by it for the people playing there. And then something that's more like just text based, that would be like part of the welcome sign. So just the text coming in, that would be, that's my sense, is that would be something that would be last longest and not need constant replacement.
Yeah, well, that's certainly a good thought. Now, I did actually, prior to the meeting today, go online and Googled how to preserve outdoor signage and so on. And there are lots of UV resistant coatings that can be applied at the time of the sign manufacturing. So, and I think if just looking around as we travel around the countryside, there's a ton of billboard signs that are up for years and years and years that, to me, don't appear to fade. So with today's technology and coatings, I'm sure there's something that will add to the longevity of the sign. That has to be.
No, thank you for that comment, Gary. Lainey, I'm going to go to you. I just want to add to, though, if that's okay, in addition to the color potentially fading and perhaps that there is a treatment or that preserves, because I'm sure there are colored billboards that exist in the world that are, or signage that is protected.
Yeah.
I wonder, though, if something that was black and white would have even more of a nod to the heritage look and feel and be a bit more sympathetic in that way. Part of the image is that because it's color and it's going to be 4x6, which isn't massive, but it's big enough. It's that modern heritage contrast that may also be a reason to either keep it as is but associate it with the community center or arena, or go to just text, or even black and white that could have a bit more of a vintage look and feel to it.
Yeah.
And not be such a contrast of modern versus heritage.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, certainly a black and white image. I haven't seen a copy of anything in black and white, but that may certainly work fine. And it may be more in keeping with the heritage theme that the committee or the town is looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Lainey?
First off, Gary, thanks for being here. And I think it is an important part of the heritage. So I mean, we're talking about the looks of it, but there is an important piece too, where, we're honoring an important citizen. So I appreciate your work on that. I'm in agreement with everybody on the placement, and I'm wondering, our Heritage Conservation District is quite a small area, really in that downtown core. Is there a possibility, has it come up at all, of the signs being outside of the conservation area? Like, I'm thinking of the intersection at Tottenham Road. I know there's some gardens and things on there. Does everybody know where I mean? I don't know. They're all numbers and there's like a 10 in every direction. So forgive me, but that intersection there at the Beaton Road and Tottenham Road, there's sort of that garden that's set back. Somewhere like that, where, you're on your way into Beaton, that, we're recognizing. But we've been already speaking about adding some signage to the conservation district. I'm a bit concerned that we're going to lose the feel of the conservation district with, hey, it's a conservation district, and here's this wonderful person that we had, and maybe here's a sign for a business. It just can get congested and pretty sign heavy down there. That I would either recommend like a black and white sepia tone if it's near to the conservation district, but I really love the idea of having something in color at the rink. That's a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And thank you so much, to echo what Lainey had said. Gary, thanks for being here. Are there any other questions that we have for Gary at this time?
I don't have any further questions for Gary. I just wanted to note that I have been typing verbatim comments as well, so that I can circulate to Mike afterwards too. So just so people know that I have been listening and it has all been documented. And I also echo that thanks to Gary for coming and for your efforts and your interest in preserving an aspect of Beaton's history and heritage. That's amazing. Thank you for being here.
Okay, well, thank you very much for inviting me to participate. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep. And thank you, Emma. That's great. Appreciate the transcribing. Okay. Are we, Carrie, would you just direct me here? Are Gary was here as a guest. We don't need to motion anything, or are we?
No, simply the comments will just be taken and noted and given back to council, and then they can make the decision where they want to go from there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on then to item number 3, correspondence and information items. If everyone has had the chance to review the Heritage newsletter, the News Comes with Heritage newsletter from August 2025, thank you, Emma, and the department staff for putting that together. If there are no questions, I think it's been circulated, so I will put a motion forward that we receive that. I'll pause though if there's questions. Oh, thank you. Motioned that it's been received. And then as well, we will receive the Ontario Heritage Conference briefing note. Thank you. Thanks, Erica. So that's Lainey and Erica. There's lots of motioners, Carrie. We're covered. Very good. And All in favor? Perfect. Thank you. So number 4, may I make a recommendation under unfinished business that the Heritage Advisory Committee work plan, we defer that to October Heritage Advisory Committee meeting where we'll be fresh. It might be much earlier in the evening, and we can proceed with any updates or advancements that need to be presented or discussed around the committee work plan. Can I get a motion, a mover for that? Thanks, Lainey. Erica is seconding that. All in favor? Okay, so we'll visit our Heritage Advisory Committee work plan in October. And then that brings us to new business. So I'll pause here for a moment. And Carrie, we will need to provide direction then. I know Emma took notes, but direction at this stage with regards to our consideration or our comments being provided to council with regards to the Rutherford recognition sign.
Right. So yes. So I don't think we need to send in or provide a recommendation. Just the comments will be within the body of the report so that council can review them.
Perfect. Thank you. Is everyone, can I get a mover for that, please? Perfect. Thank you. All in favor? Okay. The heritage application, I'm going to make a recommendation that we defer the heritage application until the October meeting for further discussion. Emma.
So it is of a time-sensitive matter. I'm happy to defer it to another meeting, perhaps later this month, but it will have to move forward.
No,
quickly.
let's address it then. Yep. Would you like to speak on that?
Yes, I'd be happy to speak on that for committee if all are
Great.
still with me. I'm mindful of fatigue as well, so. Okay. So the planning department has received our first full heritage permit application for within the Beaton HCD. It's for a property that is non-contributing, so it's a supporting property that does not have any identified historical, architectural, or associative value. So I have gone and have had lots of conversations with the property owner. They are looking to demolish the property. They purchased it in 2023 and it was deemed uninhabitable upon purchase because of mold contamination, water infiltration, and structural incompetencies. It was built post-war. It was built in 1948, and as I said, it hasn't been identified in our Beaton HCD or through consultants of being of cultural and heritage value. So I'm going to show the committee if it's okay for me to share my screen here. Just what the property also looks like. Okay. So let me know if everyone can see that here. So this is the outside of the property. The property owners live in the property that's next to this one. In the back of this property, there are also some really wonderful old growth black walnut trees that I think would also really enhance the streetscape here. Their intention is to seek to consolidate the two properties into one property, which would actually be consistent with the historical lot, as this was a result of a severance that predated the Beaton HCD and then had this building built on it. And as you can see, it's not really cohesive in terms of what the other buildings look like on the streetscape here. So this is the front, this is the view from the sidewalk, and this is just from their application, just in case you are wondering where I'm getting these images from. Here is the side of the property, the other side of the building. From the rear yard, this is from that on the side of the rear. their porch, another side view from the back of the building. So just to get an idea of what the building looks like there. And then I'm also going to pull up, I did a site visit on it as well. So I'm just going to pull up some of the images from that as well so that we can get an idea of what it looks like behind the building too. So you can see what would be seen from the street. So this is what's located in the backyard of the property. Like I said, they have some really wonderful old growth black walnut trees here. They do really care for their 51 Center Street North, the property that they live in that's right next to it, and are definitely stewards of a heritage property. So I think that that would be nice to open up this view to these to this vegetation that's in the rear and is currently obstructed by the building there as well. So there's sort of my initial overview, but I welcome any questions that you guys have. And then afterwards we can go and make some comments. And again, I will reiterate them formally, and then I'll be able to put them as comments forward to council as part of their consideration.
Shira?
Thank you. I see no issue with the removal or demolition of this building, and I think it's wonderful that they're looking to consolidate the properties. Has there been any conversation about building or putting in a garage or something like that on that property? No.
No, they intend to keep that property vacant and to consolidate the two lands, so it is in line with the previous heritage parcel. They want to put up fencing and landscaping and are really interested in making that in line with our Beaton HCD and our urban design guidelines. So I think that their vision would be really positive to the streetscape and really our intention with the Beaton HCD.
That's wonderful. So fully
Yeah.
support it. Thank you.
Amazing.
Is there any other commentary or anyone that has questions or not support?
I absolutely would prefer to see that backyard lined with those gorgeous trees, and it's stunning. So I agree with Shira.
Lainey?
They've done a really beautiful job with number 51, and my full support as well for taking it down.
Mm-hmm. Erica?
Okay.
Good. So I think, Emma, your commentary could be unanimous support from the committee.
Wonderful. Thank you guys, and thank you for your comments and hearing my little background there. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Excellent. So we have a motion that commentary has been provided to staff with regards to heritage application at 47 Center Street, North Barrie. And congratulations on your first formal application coming through the Heritage District. Okay, so moving on, our last item of business is Section 5C, 47 Victoria Street. I just had to double check. I'm like, it is at 47 also. 47 Victoria Street East, Alliston. And Emma, will you be speaking to that as well?
Yes, I'm happy to speak to that as well. I would welcome any comments initially. I know it was, I forget who it was. I think it was Helena Laney who had brought this forward to committee. So I would welcome any of your initial comments, some of your concerns and ideas, and then I can sort of address how we can collaborate on that.
Yeah, I can speak to that. I just scrolling in Realtor, I don't know why, because I'm never moving, and noticed that that property is for sale with some renderings included there of some very modern looking buildings, but not entirely unlike the ones noted on the Business Improvement Association signage that they have there. So to me, it wouldn't be a huge leap for a building to go in there, but include, you know, some of the features of the original buildings that were there, arched windows. I know there's some information on there about the bricks having a T as being part of the temperance movement, that it was a place that you weren't allowed. There's a no drinking policy. They're very rectangular apartment building styles anyway, so it didn't seem like it would be a big ask to see if that could be considered.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that we can consider and can control through something like a site plan where we can collaborate with the developer when they come in and talk about some of those design considerations for the future and see if that's something that we can really encourage to have more compatible design in line with the heritage character. So yeah, I don't see any issue, especially with opening that conversation. I think that that would be really positive to pay tribute to its historical relevance. Does anyone else have any comments? Sorry,
Sure.
Andrea.
That's okay. Nope, Shira.
Is at what point or do you think it would be appropriate to, once the conversation has been had between you and if there was a builder and some renderings were brought forward, would it be it would be nice to have it brought to the Heritage Committee to have some I mean some input. Obviously they don't need to because it's not a designated area. However, we have done that in the past and with developers who are open to it and you know they were open to talking about it, and I like to think that it made a positive impact.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I don't know who is going to purchase the lot and how open they will be to these conversations. What I can promise is that I can encourage them to come to the hack for comments. I can let them know that that's a resource that's available to them and that it would be something that would be positively received by the community, by members, and would help ensure that their development is also in line with our community values. So I think that that's something that I can definitely encourage and bring up to them, but it's not something that I can promise for the future development. Okay.
Thank you, Emma. Any other commentary on 47 Victoria Street East, Alliston? Okay. Thank you. So can I get put forward a motion that the correspondence has been received by the Heritage Advisory Committee and comments have been made and offered to Emma and the Planning Department? Can I get a mover for that? Thanks. Someone to second it? All in favor? Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to offer, thanks, Emma, offer forward any items for the next agenda to be captured? I know we'll be moving forward the Heritage Advisory Committee work plan. Carrie.
I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, this is our last meeting for this year. So we won't be having an additional meeting unless there is another application that comes up. So that I'm hoping to schedule that in January. So yes, because now as of the change of the terms of reference, we are down to 4 meetings a year.
Right.
So this is our 4th. So
okay,
just wanted to let everyone know.
Okay. So Carrie, can I ask you then, is there components of the Heritage Advisory Committee work plan that would be best served by addressing them this evening versus January?
I don't think there's anything that's pressing at the moment. I know plaques are being looked at, pricing's being explored. What What do you, Emma's done a lot more work on the work plan, so if I could maybe defer to Emma.
Okay.
Yes, that's absolutely something that can be deferred until January. There's no pressing concerns or matters that need to be tended to, but definitely a discussion that I'd love to have once we have some more time to go over it in more depth and detail together, come the new year.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you for the updates regarding the plaques in the newsletter. So it's good. That was a bit of a touch point on work plan progress. So thank you for that.
And for the newsletter period.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah, right. Excellent. Okay. Well, I think then we can move to adjournment. So as we're wrapping up the meeting for this evening, can I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn until January 2026? Okay, all in favor?
Do we have that date? January?
I'm in the middle of just creating the 2026
Okay.
calendar for council. So once
No problem.
those dates have been confirmed, then I can plug in our committee dates.
Thank you. I just thought I'd missed it somewhere. Thanks, Carrie.
No, I'll be circulating that as soon as it gets approved.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, committee, and those who tuned in at home. It's nice to see everyone, and have a wonderful fall. We'll see you in January.
Yes, thank
Thanks,
you.
Andrea.
Thanks,
Great
everyone.
job.
Thanks, everyone.